Hi, this is Sarit Switzer, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast, a podcast devoted to the teachings of Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi as recorded in his most famous work, the Tanya. My hope for this show is to make these teachings accessible and relatable to the average person, regardless of prior Jewish education or affiliation. The episodes follow the prescribed daily study portions and are meant to serve as practical lessons in how to live your life as your true self and develop an authentic and powerful relationship with your Creator. I have personally experienced the effects the study of this work has had on me, and I'm excited to share what I can of this knowledge with you. So please join me on this journey of learning, self-growth, and connection with your source. Hi, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast. This is episode 98 for the 27th of Adar Aleph in a leap year. And today we are continuing with chapter 32, what I've been calling the love chapter. It's a very famous chapter in Tanya that deals with the subject of loving your fellow Jew, what that involves, the importance of it, and all of those things. Chapter 32, once again, 32 in Hebrew is the numerical value of lev, which means heart. So it's a really great chapter, and we get to focus on it for a few days. And today I'd like to begin with a little anecdote, the little personal story that happened to me several years ago, where I was in shul, in synagogue, and I saw this girl. She was a peer of mine, and she was acting, I felt anyways, kind of cold towards me. And I had noticed this for the past little while. Like she didn't really say hello. She was kind of standoffish. And in my mind, I was thinking, wow, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe she's judging me. Maybe she's just not a very nice person. All kinds of things went into my head. But then I had a switch. Like I didn't like that I was having these negative feelings towards her. And I said to myself, wait a second. Maybe she's thinking the same thing about me. Maybe she's thinking that I'm the snob. I'm the one that's not saying hi. I'm not making the right move. I'm like, why am I expecting her to be the one to approach me? I'm a person too. I can be the one that's forthcoming. I can be the one to lead. And so I did that. I actually went up to her and I said, good Shabbos. I gave her a hug, and I realized afterwards, I was like, you know what? I think she actually really just needed a hug. She needed somebody to reach out to her. And she was so appreciative of it. And it was really nice. And it just put me in a good mood. And it seemed to put her in a good mood as well. It's a really small story, but it's really educational for me. And it kind of shifted the way that I thought about things in general, about how often sometimes it's like we can feel very frustrated about nobody's inviting me for Shabbos. Nobody's talking to me when I walk down the street, when I'm at an event or something. Nobody's approaching me. It's very easy to get kind of down and out and feel like everybody around us are snobs or not very nice people. Or we can take this to the further extent of where the Tanya goes with this, of we can see people doing things that outright are things we would never do. Not even just about not talking to us or things like that, but just doing really things that in our minds are very unethical or not proper or not appropriate and things like that. And it's very easy for us to jump and to judge when we see these kind of things. So we've already learned so far in the Tanya that we should not judge right away. We should hold back our judgment and take a moment and think to ourselves, does this person really know as much as we know? Are they coming from the same place as us? Are their struggles are our struggles? There's so many factors that come into play before we judge people. But in today, we're going to actually take it to the next step. That when we see these kind of things, when we see people doing things that we would not do, when we see people acting in ways that we wouldn't act, and we kind of resolve in our minds that most probably, which is probably the case, their struggles are not our struggles, and the things that come easy to us don't necessarily come easy to them. We should actually see this as an opportunity to love and to love them and to show them love. And it's a great opportunity for us to lead with love. And so this is a very empowering section today, where the Alter Rebbe is basically telling us that we can and should be leaders, and specifically leaders with love, and specifically to give love to our fellow man, even for no reason at all, and especially for no reason at all in that case. And when we see these people that are doing things and that they're not on our level, and that's most probably why they're acting the way that they do, this should tell us oh, wow, this person really needs our love. So let's get into the text itself and see how the Alter Rebbe explains it. So just again, to bring it into context, what we talked about last time is the past couple of times we've been talking about this idea of how we really need to come to this level of loving our fellow Jew for no reason at all, for totally unconditional love. And the way we come to this is by minimizing our physical bodies and embracing our spiritual self, which is really ultimately one in its source with the spiritual self of all other Jews. And we talked about how when we really tap into this actually fulfills the entirety purpose of creation, because the purpose of creation is to elevate our soul over our body and also to draw God down into the world and God's light into the world. And the only way God's light can come into the world and be drawn into the world is when there's unity amongst Jews. And then yesterday we brought up this little question, which was that there's a statement in the Gemara that says that if you see your fellow sinning, you should hate them. And we resolved to this by saying that this is only true if this person is your fellow in a very literal sense, in the sense of being really on the same level of you exactly in terms of Torah and mitzvahs. And how many people can we say are exactly on that level? And that we also already criticize them for what they're doing. So now today we're going to come into this next part where talking about, okay, so let's say we've realized this person is not on our level. What do we do then? And we've accepted that. So the Alter Rebbe says, so he who is not your fellow and is not close to you, meaning to say you don't really know the struggles that they're going through. And really, how do we know anybody's struggles when you think about it? Then about this, Hillel the elder teaches us that we should be like the students of Aaron, who loved peace, etc., and loved all of Hashem's creation and brought them close to Torah. This comes from Pirkei Avos, chapter 1, verse 12. And then the Alter Rebbe goes on and he says that this means that even somebody that's very far from God's Torah and from serving God, and thus he's called merely by a creature, like in a stam kind of way, like he's just like, we can't give him any other accolades, he's just a creature. Nevertheless, we should draw them in with strong cords of love, and perhaps thereby, and in this way, we will be able to return them and bring them close to Torah and to serving God. And even if we don't succeed in doing this, we don't lose out on the mitzvah of loving our fellow Jew. So that's the end of this section. Again, it's pretty short. And so just to recap, so basically what we've learned today is that when we see somebody who is doing something that we don't approve of, that it goes against our personal values and we find to be unethical in some way. So the first question we have to ask ourselves is this person on our level? Do they have the same struggles that we do? And from what it seems that we're learning in the Tanya so far is we kind of should assume not. And once we recognize that and we say, wow, this person is really far from serving God, really far from Hashem's Torah, rather than hating them, we should actually recognize the fact that this person is considered like a creation. And just like every creation of God we're supposed to be respectful towards, that is entitled to having basic decency and respect, so too does this person have this. And thus when we recognize that this person that's just considered this regular creature, like just stam, like just a creation of God, we are called upon to give this person's love and to draw them close to God's Torah with love, because it's like nebuch on the person. It's like they don't know any better. So draw them in towards you with love and towards God's Torah. And even if you don't succeed, even if your efforts are meaningless or seemingly meaningless, like it seems like it doesn't actually lead to them coming close to God and God's Torah, you did your part and you did your mitzvah of loving your fellow Jew. So the message really is to just draw people in with love, moving away from judging people, moving away from hating people. And really, when you see people doing things that you don't approve of and that you feel are wrong, rather than rushing to judge them and hate them, instead move in the opposite direction and move towards love. And I think I think the bigger message to me that I take away from this is that the Alter Rebbe is really empowering us all to be leaders and not to just take energy from other people and be like sort of like in this receptive mode, but be more proactive in your approach and realize that you too have energy that you can give to people. And instead of focusing so much on the energy that other people are giving out and are giving to you or to the rest of the world, really focus on yourself and focus on what is it that you can give to others? How can you bring more light into the world? So with that, on that note, we will end here and we'll continue and conclude the chapter tomorrow. I'll speak to you then. Thanks for listening to the It Is Taught podcast, hosted by Sarit Switzer. This podcast is dedicated in loving memory of my maternal grandfather, Avraham Yitzchak ben Binyamin HaKohen of blessed memory. Music by Shoshana. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the show, please share it with others and subscribe on YouTube, Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review. To find out more about the It Is Taught project, including more information on my soon-to-be published book, please visit our website, itistaught.com. To catch the latest from me, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Looking forward to speaking with you tomorrow, and until then, have a great day.